All right. Hello, everyone. Good evening, and thank you all for joining us. My name is Christine Ingram. I'm the local interest librarian here at the New Hanover County Public Library. And tonight with me is Chief Elder Jacobs of the Waccamaw-Siouan Tribe. North Carolina Reads is the North Carolina Humanities statewide book club for 2022. North Carolina Reads features 5 books that explore issues of racial, social, and gender equality and the history and culture of North Carolina. Any views, findings, conclusions, opinions, or recommendations expressed do not necessarily represent those of NC Humanities or the National Endowment for the Humanities. North Carolina Reads is made possible in part by A More Perfect Union, a special initiative grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities. This is a program of the North Carolina Center for the Book and provided by NC Humanities. April's book has been Even As We Breathe by Annette Saunooke Clapsaddle, exploring themes of Native identities within time and space in North Carolina. Tonight's platform is via Zoom webinar. For those attending online, please type any questions or comments into the chat or Q&A boxes on your screen. I will moderate the Q&A session as necessary. Joining us tonight is Chief Elder Michael Jacobs. He is the second oldest son of the late Martin Eddie Jacobs Sr. and Magdalene Baldwin Jacobs, both of the Waccamaw-Siouan. Born and raised in the Buckhead community, Chief Jacobs has served on the Waccamaw-Siouan Tribal Council, holding the position of Tribal Co-Chair and Chairman. He currently holds the position of Tribal Chief of the Waccamaw-Siouan Tribe, as well as one of our 2 representatives for the North Carolina Commission of Indian Affairs. Pastor Jacobs is owner, CEO, and president of Eddie's Truck Leasing Incorporated, which was founded by his mother and father and has won the Economic Advancement of Native People Award from the United Tribes of North Carolina. Please help me welcome Reverend Jacobs. All right, and take it away.
All right, it's an honor and privilege to be asked to be here this evening to speak on behalf of Native Americans, and I really enjoyed the book, Even As We Breathe. A lot of the points in the book I could relate to it as Native American. I am, a chief of the Waccamaw-Siouan Tribe, and just to give you a brief history on us, we're the closest tribe to the East Coast in North Carolina. We are 1,600 and about 20 members right now. We're still adding to our enrollment as they're presented and approved by our tribal council. We're governed by a tribal council, which actually sets the rules and regulations and governs our tribe. We are a sovereign people. We have and have always, from history, taught us, resided here on the East Coast, from South Carolina back down this way to North Carolina, along the Bladen and Columbus County areas. And I find that when we look back in history in our tribe, that we lost a lot of our language and customs and things that our people practiced because our folks were not moved to the reservation during Andrew Jackson's Removement Act that was passed. Our people remained free, largely on their land. But as the slaves and different communities moved in, it caused our people to draw tight in a community, but it was still mixed all around us. So a lot of the customs and things in our language, our people literally had to sacrifice them in order to survive. Back then, if you spoke your language or if you carried out your customs, you were considered outside. Sometimes you couldn't even get a job in our area because of the discrimination that was upon it. And today, as being a Native American small business owner, we still find a lot of the challenges that our people faced back then are still alive and real today. Some people look at you and they don't understand the struggle, that we have going on around us today, But it is a struggle to maintain a level playing field. We fight every day for our people that we would just be given a level playing field. We don't want anything, no handouts or anything like that. We just want to be treated fairly, that we can stand on the same ground and have play by the same rules. We do encourage our young people, and this is an ongoing process. We're teaching our young people some of the history as it unfolds today. Our history is still being written today. We've discovered some artifacts in our area that has not been seen by anyone's eyes but our people from over 1,000 years ago. And we're looking here in just a few weeks to bring this public some of the finds that we have in order to show that our presence here in this area has been from millennial, you know, and we do count it a privilege and appreciate anyone, especially the library here in New Hanover County, for recognizing the fact that we are a native people that exist here. You know, so many times we being one of 8 tribes in the state of North Carolina, we're overlooked when it comes to history and inclusion with different things that go on in our area. So it is a honor and a privilege, amen, to be able to speak concerning the concerns and hardships concerning our people. Uh, Another point I would like to make is today we're still battling, even with this internet issue, getting access to some high-speed internet in our community and catching our people up. You know, a lot of our youth, we have some bright youth, we have some smart kids, really proud of them, and thank God for the advancements they're making on leaps and bounds. And you know, for the parents working with them and trying to work, you know, with the school system to try to up our test scores and our involvement in our school system. We really appreciate, you know, the fact that our kids have a desire to learn, a want to learn, you know. And when I read the book, you know, looking over some of the points made in the book, I understand what it means that every time you take a breath or every time that you look around you, you're reminded, you know, that society, culture, jobs, they teach us that we're different. Native Americans for a long time have been looked down on as if we were enemies. But now that the true history is being taught and it's being spread throughout the world, we find out that Native Americans weren't the enemies. We were just home, and then some visitors came and decided they kicked the door in. Well, you know, nevertheless, when the door got kicked in, then it brought on a lot of fights and skirmishes, you know, among our different races and things. But I thank God for where we're at right now. I don't hold any hardship in my heart, and we don't teach any hardship among our people because now we're Americans and we're all trying to survive and make it in this diverse land. But we need to appreciate one another's differences. Just because we're moving forward don't mean that we need to forget about who we are and that we are different. You know, Native people have a lot to offer, especially now in the world that we live today. Our ancestors taught us how to be green before being green was cool. They taught us to appreciate the earth, knowing that we came from the earth and one day we're going to return to the earth. So all of these things are naturally ingrained in who we are. And we would like to share this with our counties and our state and surrounding areas, our country, you know, to try to help us understand that there's a native perspective that is needful today that will help us to overcome some of the economic and environmental challenges that we have. Our people are survivors. I mean, it's proven through history that even though so many times it looked like that we weren't going to make it or possibly even be wiped out, we still stood. So the Creator has granted us a right to be here, and we're on our land. And we appreciate the fact that we can work together with other governments in our area, Governor Cooper, North Carolina, and different local governments, you know, that we can work together with them, that we can come to an inclusion process to include us in some of the decision making. I got a lot I could talk about, a lot of things that affect us, a lot of things that are on my heart. But the most thing I want to leave with you is the simple fact of Native American is more than just skin deep. It's a condition of the heart. And I appreciate the fact that the Creator made me who I am. I'm not ashamed of who I am, but I just want others to realize that we're here and we're not going anywhere. I believe that concludes all I have.
Well, that's fantastic. Thank you very much. I do have a so if you read the book, then you know, it talks a little bit about there were 2 young people who were, there was one who was very much drawn and drawn away from and looking for bigger or something different, and one who ultimately was drawn back to. Did you ever experience that kind of
Yeah.
pull of one versus the other? And what was your experience and journey with that?
Yeah. Well, when we were young, nobody wanted to play the Indian. Everybody wanted to be the cowboy because TV, things that we watched were around every day. It taught us the enemy was the villain, and they never won. So even growing up, who I am was vilified through media. So a lot of our folks decided to dye their hair, change their talk. As they got older, they went off and got jobs. But I reckon I was one of the traditionalists. I believed in who I am, and I knew from the time I was born one day that I was going to be chief. I just felt in my heart the Creator had designed my heart to be chief for the concern of my people, and I still have that concern today, and will have it until He calls me home. So yes, I can bear witness to the fact we do have some traditionalists that have come back from uh, jobs outside our community, that's come back to work with our people and really do a great work with our youth. We have some in professional level jobs that are giving back now. They see a need that we need to understand who we are and where we come from in order to get to where we're going. If you don't have any history, if you don't have anything to solidify your identity, it's hard to be who you are when you don't understand who you are. And that's why it's important. History is just so important. The true history, not my opinion or my side of the story, but the whole story. When we get the whole story, then we can move forward for a bright future.
Very true. Very
Yeah.
true. Yeah. Can you tell me a little history of your tribe and where it's located, kind of what demographics look like at this point? Just a
We're
little bit of that kind of
right.
information.
We're we're predominantly in two main communities. Our Buckhead community is our seat of government. It's 6.5 mile north of Bolton, North Carolina, about 48 mile west of Wilmington, off of Highway 74. And then we have the St. James community, which is located in the outskirts of Lake Waccamaw area. And then we have some sparse communities. We stay here in Council, which is between Buckhead and St. James. And then we have some in the Chadbourne area. We do have Waccamaws living there and residing. And these communities right now, we work together, as Buckhead being our seat of government. That's where our tribal grounds and our tribal council meets, is in the Buckhead community. Uh, as far as some of the things affecting our community now, we have a problem with just basic uh, county services. Uh, we have a drainage problem that we're trying to get fixed. It's an ongoing battle. We have the internet issue that we're hoping through ATMC and other companies now that have through Biden and Governor Cooper's initiative to help strengthen our local communities, that possibly through that we're going to be able to catch up with the rest of the world on that. Uh, we're looking at our food issues. We have a healthy eating garden at our tribal grounds that minister to the needs of our tribe, as far as the fact that we don't get healthy food like we used to. Some of our families don't have access to be able to tend farms or manage crops. So we're teaching them small scale farming, where they can get back to eating healthy, and maybe, through that mentally and physically could get back on a source of strength. So that's pretty much what we got going on.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's wonderful. Thank you for covering kind of that. It just gives us a good idea of where. Do you have, number of people in the tribe that are involved and living in those communities?
We
Offhand?
do. We do. We have a lot of our elders, which through the pandemic has been real critical. We have tried our best to protect our elders and ensure that they stay inside, stay safe during all this stuff that was going on. To even some of them vaccinated, to try to get their trust in the medical system. For a long time, our people have never really trusted doctors and things, because we do have a history of mistrust and mistreatment down through the years. So it's hard to get some of our folks to get involved in seeking the help that they need. But we are a oral history people. Our elders teach us. So when this pandemic hit, it actually shook our folks to the core, because here's our history that's walking on two legs and living. And when you start taking that equation out of our society, it affects a lot of the history that's unfolding among our people, because, we do have a lot of videos and a lot of time spent with our elders, but still, this thing just cut it short. Nobody was prepared for anything like this. So it has impacted us greatly.
Mhm.
Uh, the way we do things, our traditional way of operating. We hadn't had a powwow in 2 years, and this is not just a gathering. It's a time of spiritual healing. It's a time of homecoming. It's a time of family. It's a time of encouragement for our youth. And this has really played a big part. We've seen mental issues in our tribe, people depressed. I mean, it's just really been tough. But thank God, we can see the light. The sun is rising. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I would also like to open this up to other attendees. If you all have any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat box or the Q&A box, or raise your hand. I do actually have the ability to let people talk through, so they can come through and actually ask questions. It's nice as well. Now, I believe you mentioned a little bit about language earlier. Do you all still have a written and solid language history from
We
the past?
we do have some syllables and words
Mhm.
that through history we have found, and we're trying to search out more. But as far as anyone in our tribe speaking actual fluent Siouan, we don't have anyone speaking the language, which has really caused it to be a little hindrance in really working out the avenues of the language, because back in the day, a lot of the settlers, when they came, and the traders, when they dealt with native tribes, they generally used a trade language or sign language.
Mhm.
So the dialect failed a lot. Even though we may, the Lumbee and other tribes in our area, we're all Siouan speaking people, but still that dialect, has it's gone. I mean, there's no way to get it back. We can only build and hope in the future that we can introduce our kids, to what possibly it would have been like to speak our language.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Language has so much to do with identity, and really
Yeah.
can it's a shared experience
Yeah.
amongst people. So, okay, well, I'm glad that you all are able to start finding and working towards some of that. So, what do you see as some of the bigger issues you see moving forward, and in hopes to, I guess, continue going the way you're going and improving?
Well, staying original,
Mm,
keeping true to who we are.
mm,
There's such a push now among native tribes to adopt uh, dances and customs from other tribes. The reservation Indians, as bad as it was for them to be moved to a reservation and have to stay and leave their homeland, it still provided them the togetherness that they could practice their customs and dances. And a lot of the dances that we see now at our powwows and gatherings, they have come from some of the Western tribes, because they did have the opportunity to maintain their dances and customs, where we, being on the move and surviving, a lot of ours we had to lay down. We
mm,
sacrificed that to survive. So uh, one of the hardest things in the future for us is staying original to who we are, maintaining a steady pace but not running. A good walk is better than a fast run, because sometimes when we get in a run or a hurried pace, we tend to stumble over things that ordinarily, if we take our time, we could see that it was cause a problem or something that would arise that would maybe short circuit the direction we're going. We have a good tribal council. We have a hope that in the future they're going to provide us the means to be able to move forward with a lot of governmental changes and policies that they're adopting now to bring to our tribe and our youth. We have an election coming up here just shortly in April, to where the tribe is literally going to vote on a new chief. Every 4 year we vote out,
mm.
and instead of competing for the position of chief now, we vote. It's not handed down through families anymore. We vote on our chief and our assistant chief. So we just to stay original, I believe is going to be the biggest challenge we got ahead of us. Maintaining the our understanding with our kids. Some of the school systems, it's a struggle to get them to teach true native history. A lot of them have adopted a patriotic history instead of the true history. Sometimes the patriotic history, it addresses one side of the battle, one side of the fight, one side of the concern. When true history, looks at both sides. And we would like another thing to challenge our school systems to stay true to history and rewrite those things that weren't true. Don't continue to tell the same lie over and over and over for generations to come. When I grew up, I remember reading the first school book that I had. I remember reading in it and seeing where Native Americans were called dogs and considered evil. That there was something bad about us. And I grew up with that stigma in my mind. I was a second class American until I found the truth out. I said, my Lord, here I was all these years being deprived of my courage and character when it weren't our fault to start with. So these things are important that we maintain the truth. That's another challenge we have today. We're losing a lot of our identity to society, the customs that are coming down through our young people. And we have a lot of interracial marriages taking place. So, with bringing in the new history, the interracial marriages into our community, that's another challenge. Not to separate anybody, but to stay true to who we are, you know, yeah, not be a copy. We don't want to be a copy.
All right, can you tell us a little bit about the work with the North Carolina Commission for Indian Affairs and what work you've done with them and where that's taken you?
Yes, ma'am. Our term on the commission is coming up for re-election here now. We've served on the North Carolina Commission of Indian Affairs for 4 years as one of two commissioners from the Waccamaw Tribe. And all 8 tribes in the state of North Carolina has a representative that sits on the Commission of Indian Affairs. And then we elect our leader, the chairman of the commission. And what we do is address the social, economic, physical, spiritual, all the issues that impact our tribes to the North Carolina government. We collaborate and try to work in policies that's not going to harm our people. It's an ongoing operation. We work close with a lot of our elected officials. We have some of our folks now that are pushing forward, for different legislative approaches that's going to try to help our people in the state of North Carolina. The Commission of Indian Affairs addresses the gatherings when the state invites us to a native gathering or a celebration. We make sure that gathering is within our customs and traditional respect. The governor has appointed a new commission now, which is going to take over some of the archaeological findings and things of this nature or customs. They're going to be more sensitive and more in operation of those things than the Commission of Indian Affairs. We handle some of the laws that are being made that's contrary to Native people. We fight as hard as we can to try to get them resolved or took care of. The commission stays busy. I believe I receive about 20 emails a day on different issues and programs that are going on and where we're trying to keep our voice and our presence alive to stay sovereign and yet be a working government with the state of North Carolina. And I appreciate the fact the state does recognize us as a sovereign people, that we are a government within ourselves. Yeah. So it's ongoing. The commission really, it has a lot of work. I mean, there's just a lot of things a lot of details and things that we go through, especially with our youth. We got a lot of programs with our unity conference where our youth comes together and they literally get a chance to see the job opportunities that are out there and begin to speak to professionals about things that are going on and how they need to prepare themselves through college and other things that can maybe get them on that level playing field we were talking about.
Mhm, mhm. Wonderful. Wonderful. I have a question here from one of our attendees. How far back would you say the oral history of your tribe reaches?
As of right now, as far back as the 1600s.
Wow.
Yeah, we have some oral history that even goes further than that, as far as what has been handed down through our tribal members and all. Our elders, we've had some good storytellers down through time that have really enlightened us and tried to direct us in where we come from and where we originated. And like I said, we got some folks in our community now that are trying to compile a lot of these videos and these different things that have been oral and have been recorded to try to get them in a collective to where we can share them with the future.
Mhm.
Yeah, so well over the 1600s.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
That's really extraordinary.
yeah. Well, it's like I was saying before. Uh, we have some artifacts that have been discovered that here in the future, next few weeks, I'm hoping we can go public. But they've been carbon dated back to 1159, 1150. Uh, and this just bears record to our presence and where we're at and the life that we carried on. And some of the private farms around the Lake Waccamaw area, they have pots, sherds, they have arrowheads, all kind of things that farmers have found and brought in their house for the personal collection that the tribe really has not had access to. So a lot of our history, has been gobbled up by surrounding communities as they moved in. Our people moved together, and a lot of those things, we don't have access to them, but we know they're there. They're coming out now, so that's a blessing. I was talking earlier about it being an ongoing history, and that's what it is with us. As we discover artifacts and we work with the Archaeological Department of North Carolina, different agencies in our area. Every day we're receiving new findings, discovering different things that are pertaining to our tribal history. You know, it's exciting right now.
Absolutely. I have a question from the attendees. Do you think the upcoming infrastructure bill that has broadbanding, et cetera, will help with computers? Or where else are you getting funding and things for the infrastructure on your land?
Yes, ATMC, I believe it was last year, had come to our community, our tribal grounds, and they presented a substantial check to Columbus County, which would address the internet uh, broadband issues on this end of Columbus County.
Mhm.
But our problem is we're straddled by the Bladen and Columbus County line.
Mhm.
Our tribe existed before Bladen County. Bladen County was the mother county. Our tribe existed before Bladen County was ever founded. Well, when the county line came, we know the county line determines on the resources and the services that you receive. By us being straddled a line, we oftentimes get overlooked or left out. But ATMC has started construction on our end in the Columbus County area. We still hadn't seen anything from Bladen County, which is where I'm at right now, having some internet difficulties. But uh, hopefully, in the near future, we can address those issues too. We do have some grants that have come in that we're trying to utilize and to our benefit to upgrade some of the things that we do lack.
Mhm. Wonderful. Wonderful. Are you getting or receiving any organizational help for the oral history recordings and things that we've talked about, the histories that you're looking at, and some people have taken recordings? Do you have any institutions around there or organizations around there that are helping with that?
Well, we have our own our drum circle,
Mhm.
and we have a cultural program now that's about to get kicked off underway. hopefully we have some tribal members that are working to get that going, and have really invested a lot of time in it. Ashley Lomboy, uh, uh, Francis Ledesma, different ones. They're trying to get this started, looking into our language. Cody Sutherland, some of our young people are really anxious and pressing forward in this issue, which I'm excited for. I just want us to, take a steady pace and not a fast pace in doing it, so we can stay original to who we are. But yeah, we do have some organizations that are trying to help us out. Uh, as far as the state, we do have some grant money that had been offered in that area, but not a lot. We're still in the process of trying to obtain some grant writers and some folks that could help us out in that field. Yeah.
Wonderful. This kind of goes back to the book a little bit, but you've talked about, the county line and things. The importance of physical and metaphoric boundaries, not only in the novel, but in, for you kind of have your lands that are set aside within another government structure. Like how did those play into everyday life even? I mean, how does kind of,
Well, we had one of our tribal members that had contacted me this morning before I came to work, and her concern was she went over to Lake Waccamaw, and her mind was troubled, and she just wanted somewhere around the lake to where she could just spiritually meditate and talk to the Creator. We don't have anywhere like that. All around the front of Lake Waccamaw is public. Most of it's private now. Public don't have access. There's the state park area, but when you go around to the state park, it's so secluded on that end. A female would not feel comfortable going around there and going out by herself. So it's challenging that as we try to move forward spiritually and historically, that surrounding lands and some of the property owners don't want to work with us too much, and it sort of concerns us, because if all rights would be brought back to the table, they're on our land to start with, but we don't get that same respect. So it is challenging when you look at the county lines and the borders and how commercial, property supersedes historical or spiritual property. For us to be able to grow and teach our youth the sacredness and importance of being a spiritual people. We've always been a people of faith, and it sort of makes it hard. Back when our tribe was converted to Christianity, we used to baptize in Lake Waccamaw, and it just got so bad over there that when you'd be having a baptized service, folks would ride right by on the boat, or they would get over there with cameras like it was a tourist attraction. Right. And we're not Indians for hire or on show. This is who we are. And, there's no respect when you start dealing outside of the general community. Even at our tribal grounds, we would love to access more lands in our area to be able to offer, a place that our young people could really thrive and look forward to growing. But we only have a limited space even there. Most everything around us is owned by the company, the timber companies. Yeah. It's about like hunting. When you think about hunting to a Native American youth, a lot of people say, oh, that's just a sport. But to us, it's a tradition. We take pride and respect when we take an animal from nature. And we thank the Creator for that animal because it provides us with food and clothing and all of these things. It teaches a communion, among you and what's created, the animals. You learn to respect them and look out for them and provide for them, so the next generation can come along and be able to enjoy the same thing that you're enjoying. But we got a different mentality now that's trying to attack our people. In other words, they go out and some of them try to kill everything they see. They have no respect for it. They just discarded the remains of it just like it's nothing. And we weren't raised that way. We always were taught to respect what the Creator made, and that it was created for us, being His children. He made these things for us to survive and to make it.
see, can you, I have a question from the group. Can you speak about looking 7 generations forward as a Native American?
Yes, ma'am. That's a teaching that's handed down probably to all Native people, is that whatever we do, we try to have a vision of at least 7 generations ahead. Even in the Bible, that number 7 is a number of completion. So we tried our best to whatever we do that we know it impacts the coming generations. So whatever we do, we try to leave it better today for tomorrow, so the next generation can enjoy the same things, if not better conditions than we do. We believe that you can go by our homes, our houses, our farms. Even now with commercial properties the way they are, our farmers still farm with a native mentality. You respect the land. You don't go out there and rape it and abuse it. You respect it. Our people still do carpools. Back in the day, people, never thought of carpooling. Our people would call around. I remember, my mother would call her sisters and different ones in the community and say, "Hey, I'm going to Whiteville today. Y'all need anything?" And they would all put in an order and she'd go pick it up and bring it back, or one of them would pick it up and bring it back. There was that spirit of cooperation. That's the way we were raised.
Now, I want to go ahead and just give the group another opportunity to put in your questions. We're going to be wrapping up here shortly. So you read the book, so what really kind of spoke to you? This was a time and a place. This was back during World War II, and it was out, in the western part of the state with the Cherokee. What did you really, I guess most connect with the book and with what Ms. Clapsaddle was saying?
Well, I guess the most important thing that really stood out to me is the relation and the understanding of the struggle of just the fact that being here, just to be here, with all the things that are going on around you, to maintain who you are, to stay true to that identity, and today to practice those customs that make you who you are in a society to where, we all look the same during the day, but when we come home to different cultures and different ways. So I understand that. I relate to that. She really done a fine job in bringing that out. And what greater title to use than even as we breathe. I mean, just every breath, whatever you do as Native American, is in your essence, is who you are.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, is there any final notes that you would like to end on? Any final thoughts that you have to share with us?
Other than respect your surroundings, one another, always remember that in the Creator's eyes, we're all made special. We're all made unique. And by contributing our differences, we build for the future.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. We really appreciate it. For those who have attended online, I do have a short 3-question survey coming out in about an hour. Just a brief survey. If you could fill that out, we would appreciate it. The recording of this will be on our website early next week. And again, Reverend Jacobs, thank you so much. And I hope you have a wonderful evening.
Thank you. And you too. God bless.
God bless.